Hey guys, Tom here again from synthhacker.com. Welcome back to another tutorial for Massive. In this video we're going to be taking a look at a really cool kind of future-based chord stab, kind of in the style of Wave Racer. This was taking inspiration from his remix of Flight Facilities. And I'll just quickly show you the demo track that I've made to demonstrate the sound, and then we'll get into making it from scratch. Really nice, clean, cool sound. And the actual track is quite old. I think it's from either 2014 or early 2015. I can't quite remember. But this sound is still very relevant. And it's been used a lot in a lot of kind of like future bass and trap type tracks, which is really cool. And yeah, there's actually not too much to it, so it shouldn't take too long. We're gonna go ahead and initialize the patch just to begin with. Just before we get into making it, as always guys, these videos are supported by my website over at synthhacker.com. Definitely go ahead and go check that out if you haven't done so already, to check out my preset packs for Massive and other synths like Serum and so on as well. Really do appreciate that. It really helps support me and the channel, and yeah, thanks in advance if you decide to check that out. But without further ado, let's begin making this really cool chord stab completely from scratch. So the first thing to mention really is the voicing tab, as usual when we start in Massive. And what we're going to do first of all is set the maximum amount of voices to 64. You might have to limit this to like 32 or 16 if your CPU is not powerful enough, but we want as many voices as possible to really fill out the sound. We're going to set the unison to around 7, which just means that for every note that's pressed, each oscillator is going to generate 7 voices. And to really kind of fatten the overall sound up a little bit, we're going to do two things in this voicing tab. First of all, we're going to switch the pitch cutoff control on, and this is just going to allow us to detune the voices from one another slightly. And then down at the bottom here, we're also going to pan the voices across the stereo field as well, just to add some stereo width and really just fill out the stereo width. Really cool effect on these type of sounds. Next, we're going to dive into the oscillator section. We're just going to keep these on their defaults. We're just using simple saw waves for the sound. Really, most of what makes the sound comes from the filter envelopes and the effects and so on. So yeah, just basic saw waves. Just make sure that the wavetable position for both these oscillators is all the way to the right hand side. Oscillator 1 here, we're actually going to pitch up a whole octave above oscillator 2. We're going to bring the amplitude down a little bit because we don't want it to dominate the sound to be have too much high end really. What we are going to do for both of these oscillators is route them straight through filter 1. The reason for this is because we're going to be using filter 1 for our oscillator 1 and oscillator 2. And then what we're going to do is also have a separate filter to just filter our noise, which I'll show you in just a second. In fact, we can dive into that now actually. What we're going to do here, and the reason that I'm doing this is because I actually want to use a different amount of resonance for filtering the noise than oscillator 1 and 2. I actually want it to be a little bit more extreme on the noise. What we're going to use is this bright noise. We're going to keep the color about where it is, bring the amplitude just over halfway and route this to filter 2. Make sure that the volume on filter 2 is up as well. And just bring it down a little bit on filter 1 actually, and then place the filter mix about halfway. So right now you can see filter 1 and 2 aren't on at all. We're not using any filter types, it's just set to none. So if we listen at the minute, we've just got this. By the way, if you notice a little bit of reverb there, it's just because the only kind of external effect that I'm using on this is just an external plate reverb, so you don't need to worry about that too much. It doesn't really impact the sound that much. I'm sure you've all got your own kind of preferable reverb that you'll put on the sound anyway. So right there, it's just really simple. What we've got is just basic saw waves and noise just stacked together. But what we're going to do now is use the filters to shape the sound a little bit. So first of all, we're going to set both of these filters to low pass 4. And bring the cutoff on both of these all the way down. So if we were to play it now, we wouldn't hear anything. And I'm going to bring the resonance on filter 1 nearly all the way down, and on the second filter we're going to take it just past 9 o'clock there. And then what we need to do, we still won't hear anything if we play it now. We need to set up a filter envelope using envelope 3 to kind of give it the tonal characteristic that we're kind of looking for. So for envelope 3, what we're going to do is give it a little bit of attack. I noticed that the chord stab kind of had a little bit of attack, but to me, when listening to it in the original track, it felt like it had a kind of a little bit of attack, so it wasn't just like a really sharp kind of pluck sound, which I thought was really cool. So for this, I just kind of brought the attack up a little bit, brought the sustain all the way down, kept the decay about halfway, and just kept the release about where it is, or reduced it a little bit. And now what we can do is drag and drop this on our cutoffs, and I'll demonstrate this. This really does contribute to a lot of the sound. Push this up just higher than our first filter, and now we have this. So that's really close to what we're going for already. For the amplitude envelope, which always by default is envelope 4, we're just going to add quite a lot of attack on this, and also bring the sustain down quite a bit. Keep the decay where it is, and just bring the release down a little bit. This is just so that the sound isn't too sustained in terms of amplitude all the way through. Next, moving into the effects. Effects 1, I just had a small reverb. So I kind of had this like small reverb in combination with an external reverb. If you want the kind of raw sound from Massive to have more reverb, you could instead use the just normal reverb. Or use kind of your own external reverb. It's completely up to you, really. But for the small reverb, I just brought the size up to about just less than halfway, and brought the dry wet down a little bit. And then what I also did was just add a dimension expander, which really kind of obviously does what it says on the tin, really, just expands how big the sound sounds. And the best way I find to use this is to bring the size nearly all the way down. And then push up the dry wet. So I've just got it set to about over halfway, I think. So I'll just show you how this sounds now. You can mess around with vibrato if you think that sounds good. And then next, just some kind of polishing up of the sound, really. I boosted the high shelf just to add some kind of nice crisp high end, so it cuts through the mix a little bit more. And then also I just brought the low shelf down, because you'll be able to tell from the demo track, but in addition to the chords that I'm playing in Massive, I just have a really basic one note sub, which is literally just a saw wave through a low pass filter, really, with a similar kind of amplitude to our envelope 4 here. So yeah, this should be pretty much the finished sound now. I'll show you what it sounds like. If we actually bring the amplitude of filter 1 down, you can hear just the noise on its own and what that adds to the sound, which is pretty cool. You can hear it adds kind of like a percussive element over the top almost, which is really, really nice, especially when you push the resonance up a little bit like we have done here. And yeah, it just adds a really, really nice kind of layer to the sound. And that's pretty much the sound. Like I said, it's not too tricky. The chords themselves are really, really nice. If you look up, if you're interested in like finding the MIDI or whatever, if you just Google Wave Racer Flight Facilities Remix, the MIDI should come right up. It's on a website called Hook Theory, I think it's called, which is really great. They've got like a bunch of different midis and you know, just songs that people have kind of worked out the chords from there, which is really cool. And yeah, that pretty much covers the sound, guys. So hopefully you found this useful. If you did, please subscribe to stay up to date with future tutorials and leave a like. If you have any questions about this sound or any suggestions or anything like that, feel free to leave those down below. Also, guys, let me know if you are kind of wanting other types of videos, kind of like mixing and mastering stuff, or music theory stuff as well. Those are areas that I'm really interested in. And you know, since starting the channel, I think I've developed a lot in, and I'd love to kind of share some stuff in those areas with you guys as well. So let me know if that's something you're interested in. Obviously, in addition to the synthesis and sound design videos that I'm bringing out. And yeah, that covers everything. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Check out my website if you haven't done already, over at synthhacker.com, to check out the presets for Massive and Serum that I've got. And yeah, that's everything. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.